I suppose I lost sight of it. I had a scenario in my head which I fully endorsed myself, that the band Massive Waggons were becoming less popular as their albums went on. I thought they'd had their big push around the time of Half Nelson, I thought, and since then, or maybe even a couple of albums before, and since then they'd not been as popular as you might have expected. They were the coming band at the time, and I'm wrong, because this new album, Earth to Grace, now there is another version of that that's come out, and I'll review that at a different time. It's got a few extra tracks on it, but this album that came out a couple of weeks ago, I thought, well, it sounds a bit warmed over to me. More of that in a minute. But I also thought, well, it's not really all that popular, is it? It's not really. It's probably a push to radio rock, and more of that in a minute too, because that's what they want to be, and maybe that's because they're not actually on the radio as much. I am wrong. This is their most popular album, their best-selling album. I mean, it's only been out. I mean, we haven't got very much sales information because it's not been out that long. But I think its peak is number 4 in the album charts. I think the general album charts, not just the rock. I think the general album charts. So I was wrong, wasn't I? However, I think that's because I've been less interested in Massive Waggons. Great northern band, Lancaster and Morecambe. Quite a lot of Morecambe mentions on this album, which is good. But I've become less interested in them since they became less rocky, I suppose. And that's a shame, because they remain agitational, and they remain fun, and they remain a really good rock band when they want to. This album, Earth to Grace, as you'll recall I said, is wrangled towards the rock charts, and there's nothing wrong with that, but there is an absolutely execrable song on this. It's an AOR track, and I would not expect, it's mawkish, I would not expect Massive Waggons to be producing that. That's, maybe I'll admit that it could be that I am just too blinkered here, and that I was there at early doors with Massive Waggons, and seen them live and love them live and all of that, and saw them early on and loved the early albums, and now think, oh, they're not the band I remember. It could be that. I could be a curmudgeon, and I could be blinkered. But this track, Night Skies, is blooming terrible in my view. I mean, it's not. Luckily, other tracks aren't like this, but there's enough AOR out there without clogging the airwaves up with more. I know this is a push towards radio rock. Wait, maybe they're not that calculated, and maybe it just turned out that way. It seems to me like a push towards radio rock. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. I don't want a track like this. It sells out my original views of the band, and I need to manage my expectations, I know, but that is the way it seems to me. However, there's a reason in a way for this, because it starts with a real sort of new wave of British heavy metal pusher. It's called Sleep Forever. It's got a big and rangy solo, and it made me think, good gravy, we're on for something good here. However, missing on TV, it's kind of almost pop punk. It's got a real radio ready chorus. Again, I'll say there's nothing wrong with that, but it made me think, oh, what's that first track just to get me in? And now I feel it's like when someone says roll up, come and see the weirdest thing on earth, and you get in there and it's a bloke with stuck on fur wearing a dog mask. That sort of thing. Not that bad, but you know what I mean. And then Free and Easy, which has got a line about Morecambe being grey skies and all of that. It's country rock, really. Now, I appreciate that this is popular at the moment. Appreciate it, and appreciate that that's something that fans will want to hear, but some fans will want to hear, but not me, actually. So Again, I'm going to temper that and add a caveat. I like to caveat things. I'm a naughty caveater by saying this is probably just me getting a bit curmudgeonly because I was there at the beginning, really, or fairly near the beginning. So, but I don't want to hear it, to be honest. I want to hear more of the tighter riff in All We Got. However, there is a softer chorus. There's a bit of new wave in the middle of it. I can cope with that because we've had some rock at least. And I really like the cutting against the title, whatever makes you happy, ominous and quite nasty rock feel of that. That's really nice as well. I mean, it's not all kind of disappointing here at all. It's a good album. It's not to my taste particularly. As the album goes on though, you've got a bit of breast beating, middle and a bolshy solo in Underdog. Cool Like a Fox is really cool. It's got a reined in, powerful riff. A bit of boogie in there as well, which I don't mind. Softer middle, but then they've prepared the way for that, so I don't mind so much. And then a short classic rock solo, I love it. And the end of this album, of course there's a new extended album out, new version, the week after I think, or 2 weeks after it was released, is it's called Rabbit Hole, and it's the best thing here. Why? Well, for me it is because it's got more rock to it. It has a thick and agitational riff, the kind of rock that I've been waiting for. At one point there's a bit of narrative, a bit of narration, while the guitars are raging behind it. It's got, I mean, that agitational riff, really something I've been waiting for all album, really. I also like that high-pitched guitar squealing solo. It is marvellous. It is what I wanted more on the album, but then this album's been really successful. And if you want that kind of thing, that's what you're going to get. As I say, maybe they're pushed towards that, maybe that's what has happened in their writing. It's just not always to my taste. However, it's better than an awful lot of radio rock coming out at the moment, and that puts it ahead of an awful lot of albums. So it's not all bad stuff. It's just that I wanted to hear more rock. But that's just me. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm right. That's the great thing about music, ain't it? And that's the great thing about opinions. Everyone's got one. Ta-ta.